Hi everybody, I'm Jordy. Today we're going to be talking about all of the hard modes that ULDUAR has to offer. These are going to be, in my opinion, from the sound of what Blizzard is planning on doing, some of the hardest encounters that we've had to face so far in Classic. A lot of these were just unkilled in vanilla or in original Wrath of the Lich King before they were nerfed. I've heard that XT was unkilled before they nerfed it, stuff like that. So we're gonna see what versions we get on the PTR, which will be this Thursday. So tune in then if you want to see what it looks like. I'm going to be streaming it nonstop this entire weekend. December 8th to the 12th is when they said they're going to do it. So come hang out. But today we're going to be talking about the boss guide reviews boss guides that Tankspot did, like we have in the last three. This will be the last one of this series before the PTR. And today is Algalon, and then, which we've already done, but we're going to talk about it again. And then we're going to do Freya, Hodir, Thorim, Mimiron, Vezax, and Yogg. I might not do Vezax, we'll see. But the Keepers and Yogg 0 are going to be really hard. Some of the Keepers are going to be harder than others. But Algalon is the hard mode only boss that you only have an hour for before he wipes the raid and disappears. So you really want to have a plan going in. Hopefully we get him down quickly on the PTR, or at least, you know, whatever. And I can get a really solid boss guide out early so that you don't have to worry about learning the fight so much as you just have to learn about how to execute it. That's the point of the boss guides. A lot of people have been asking me lately about why do you do boss guides? It's progression's fun and stuff like that. But it's like a lot of people don't have Shoutout, thanks, man.
We gotta go.
Actually, we can go. Why don't we just go?
A lot of
Now
people don't
that I
have the time.
finally joined the NOS side for retail, am I gonna see you play?
Yeah, come play
XD.
Shoutout. I'm not playing retail. I'm a classic Andy. But yeah, let's get into Algalon. This boss guide is Tankspot, and it's narrated by Aliena, who's a legend. And her UI is surprisingly modern by today's standards, more so than both Ciderhelm and Lore and all those guys. So it's really a fun point of view to see. All right, here we go.
First engage Algalon, he will despawn exactly 60 minutes later.
How's
Whether or
the
not you're
volume?
in combat with him. Should you
Louder?
be in the middle of an attempt at that time, he'll cast Ascent to the Heavens, wiping your raid. Algalon is a straightforward two-phase encounter, and the biggest obstacles to this fight are the extreme amount of tank damage that he deals, and the raid awareness that's required from every raid member. He's on a fairly tight 6-minute enrage timer, so having people die is a no-no.
A no-no.
Algalon attacks very quickly and deals around 24k main hand as well as 13k offhand damage, so you definitely want to bring 2 to 3 full-time tank healers.
So Algalon hits really hard, and I'm pretty sure they're buffing the amount of damage that he does. So early on, your tanks are going to get trucked. We're worried about certain tanks being less good than other tanks. I'll let you be the judge of that, but I'm very interested to see what the tank damage is going to be like. He hits as hard as like a Brutalis might. It's going to be gnarly. So we'll see how it goes. I'm a little bit nervous about it, especially like a DK tank is going to be hit a lot harder than say a Prop Pally. So we'll see. Prop Pally is going to be really comfy for this because you're going to get Ardent if you fuck up is really nice and stuff like that. So
Along with that, we also take 3 raid healers that take care of the collapsing star damage.
So notice the raid damage. This fight is all about raid damage and tank damage. It's a really difficult healer fight, which I'm really excited about. And the raid really needs to do their best to minimize the amount of damage that they take because you don't want to get behind. So yeah, we'll keep going. They have 7 healers.
All of Algalon's abilities are on a strict timer. Every 15 seconds he'll use Face Punch on his main threat target, which inflicts another 10k damage and stacks up to 5 times, at which point the target will be faced into the Shadow Realm. We perform a tank.
I don't know if you guys remember, we 7 healed the first few weeks in Sunwell, and it was absolutely the way to go. My most popular clip of my channel is me pointing at the camera and telling idiot raid leaders to bring 7 healers, that they won't regret it. And I stand by that for 95% of guilds. Week 1, that was the right call. We'll see what ULDUAR brings. With dual spec, it's a lot easier to bring more healers depending on the fight, but yeah, I don't know. The buffs are going to make it really interesting.
Tank switch at 3 to 4 stacks and let the debuff wear off to avoid the phase altogether.
So this fight has a simple tank switch mechanic where there's stacks of a debuff, and at some point you want to taunt to let the debuffs fall off. You got to call that out. You got to be really vocal about the communication between the 2 tanks. It's very similar to Brutalis, where we all know how to do that.
Periodically, Algalon will summon Collapsing Stars. 30 seconds after engaging him, he'll summon the first set of 4.
Yeah, it's pre-nerf. Buffed or pre-nerfed, it might as well be the same thing, because we're all used to the older version. So we'll see what pre-nerf ends up bringing, but it'll be gnarly from what some of the values are looking like.
As their name indicates, they collapse by themselves, but you want to assign 1 ranged DPS to kill them and speed up the process, as well as regulate when they die. That person is responsible for marking the star currently being killed so other people know to get away from it, as well as making sure that no star dies right as Cosmic Smash happens. Once a star dies, it deals around 16k rate damage and leaves a black hole on the ground that serves as a portal to the Shadow Realm.
The Shadow
These are
Realm.
useful for one reason and one reason only: Big Bang.
Alright.
Big Bang is Algalon's main ability that he uses every 90 seconds. It has an 8-second cast time and, once cast, will inflict 110k damage on anyone remaining in the normal realm. The catch is that if no one remains in the normal realm, Algalon will instead cast Ascent to the Heavens, which is an instant raid wipe. To counteract that, you need to have one person not take a black hole, and instead survive the Big Bang with a cooldown.
Alright, so Big Bang is kind of the thing that you think of when you think of Algalon. It's like that the main mechanic, right? Every 90 seconds, he starts casting a 8-second raid wipe mechanic, where if you are in the realm with him, it will kill you, unless you do something very specific, like Cyberquack is saying, Dispersion. And in order to get into the Shadow Realm, where Big Bang is not happening and will not kill you, you have to run into one of these black holes, right? You enter the Shadow Realm. I don't think you can ice block it, no. But you can Dispersion it. But if so, the thing is, can you ice block it? Does anybody know? Can you bubble it? No immunities? Okay, there you go. But you can Ardent it. Ardent Defender does work. So your prop pally could survive it. Right? I think I know that works. So, but you don't want to waste your Ardent on that if you can help it. So, can a Rogue Cloak it? No. Can you Guardian Spirit it? I think you can, Vurin. I think you can. So the idea is everybody runs into the Shadow Realm except for like the Shadow Priest or maybe a Guardian Spirited person, and they hang up here with him, and it pops. The Shadow Priest doesn't die because he's taking 90% less damage, so 90% of 135,000 damage. 10% is 13.5, so you'll take 13.5, so that's about half of your health, maybe a little bit less, and maybe a little over, and you survive. Everyone else is in the Shadow Realm dealing with the shadow things or whatever, but this is one of those mechanics that like you need to do perfectly because you just can't afford to lose people on this fight. There's just too much going on, and you just can't be dying to it. You also only have an hour, remember, before he wipes the raid and despawns. So wiping to silly things like Big Bang feels really bad. So here comes Big Bang at 10.
Dispersion glyph works beautifully because you can dispersion every Big Bang, but other cooldowns such as Guardian Spirit or Tank cooldowns work as well, as long as the person remaining down there.
So here's the black hole.
Regardless of
she runs through.
Everyone else needs to take a black hole to get face.
I think she's running to the outside so as not to try to aggro these. Their Big Bang goes out,
you're in the Shadow Realm,
and now they're back.
Not to walk onto where another black hole is positioned.
Nobody died.
Realm, or you'll instantly get phased back into the Shadow Realm and will most likely die to the dark matter mobs. Once you get phased back out, make sure that the tank transition goes smoothly.
Bunch of damage.
Healers are relocating to their original positions. We have tank healers sent away from the rest of the raid, so the chances of them having to move for Cosmic Smash are smaller. Cosmic Smash are the void zone looking circles that pop up every 25 seconds after engaging the event.
So I was trying to find them.
Defeat of random raid members and inflict damage based on one's proximity towards them. If you see one popping up close to you, it's essential that you move at least 10 yards away from it. Should anyone fail to move and stand in one, they'll be lifted up into the air and most certainly die from a combination of Cosmic Smash and fall damage.
There it is, right here. That's Cosmic Smash. It just looks like a void zone or whatever. You have to run away, and the radius is much bigger than it looks like. So look how far she's running. Far.
The funny looking data balls.
There's 3 of them.
Are called living constellations. Mostly they're just annoying, but they can also be used to close black holes by moving a constellation on top of one. So
the black holes will stack. And it can be overwhelming because at some point, like, because you don't want to walk into a black hole unnecessarily, because it'll phase you, and you don't want to be phased necessarily at random times. So you can pull living constellations over the ones that aren't useful to cause them to collapse and get rid of them.
This should be done by the tank that's not currently tanking to keep the numbers of constellations as well as black holes at bay. Other than that, they just aggro to random people and use Arcane Barrage. It's annoying, but it's not much of a threat. All these elements of the fight keep repeating until Algalon hits 20% health and phase 2 starts.
Okay, so she missed the black hole. So watch what she's gonna do. Where's her buffs?
Any currently open black holes, stars, and living constellations will disappear, but 4 new black holes will pop.
How does she not die?
All these elements of the fight keep repeating.
Okay, so she Guardian Spirited herself, right? And then Big Bang's about to go out.
Health and phase 2 starts. Any currently open black holes,
and she
stars,
survived.
and living constellations will.
So that works, and that's not the worst use of a Guardian Spirit. The problem is it's going to be really hard to save anybody else but you, because it's going to be hard to know whether or not they're going to be able to make it in or not. Maybe it was planned. Okay, well, okay, let's look at the Shadow Priest HP. Mitosis is their Shadow Priest.
Repeating until Algalon hits 20% health and phase 2 starts.
It could have been planned.
Any currently open black holes, stars, and living constellations will disappear, but 4 new black holes will pop up in set positions of.
Does anybody know if you die to Big Bang, does he do Ascent to the Heavens and wipe the raid? Or it was planned? Yeah. Like if you're the Shadow Priest and you don't get dispersion off and you die, if you're the only person staying out for Big Bang, then it's a wipe. So if you're only person out, imagine you don't die through dispersion. He just survived.
The room. Make sure raid members either stay towards the middle or the walls of the room to avoid getting phased out when that happens.
Bay, no, this is not a replay. I'm doing Algalon again.
Every 30 seconds, 4 Unleashed Dark Metas will spawn, 1 from each black hole. Your off-tank needs to pick those up and hold them.
So this is phase 2. Phase 2 is a DPS race. I don't think it's going to be... Did I bet? That's hilarious. I don't think it's going to be too difficult, but Yeah. Do you save Lust for phase 2, or do you pop it on the go for your Unholy DKs? Well, it remains to be seen. We'll see what we do, but okay, Luna, interesting.
Since at this point it's a DPS race to burn down Algalon before your main tank reaches 5 stacks of face punch and gets phased out. It's advised to perform a tank switch right before the 20% mark so you have the most possible time, about 45 seconds, to burn down Algalon. Be aware that Cosmic Smash still happens in phase 2, and also make sure to be prepared for one last big bang should your DPS be slow. Once Algalon hits about 3% health, he'll disappear and leave a tasty chest. Good luck!
It's 90% damage reduction, and it's like 135,000 damage,
As
so...
always, feel free to ask questions or add any suggestions either on YouTube
there it
or
is.
in the strategy thread on Tankspot.com. Also, Tankspot donors can download all of these
Well, Bubble,
movies in
you,
high
but you got a
definition
Bubble.
directly from our servers. So if you'd like to learn more about that, just click the second.
Juicy Constellus. Ooh, baby. Sabatons, that's Biss boots too. Boundless Gaze, Biss in some sets. Alright, well that's Algalon. I think Algalon will be a pretty easy fight after you're used to doing it. I also really like how one of the harder fights is like halfway through the instance, and some of the best loot is like halfway through the instance, because it gives you something to look forward to early. You know what I mean? You know, oftentimes with Nax, you're like, ugh, okay, we got to get through all 4 wings before we get to the good stuff. You know what I mean? That's not how ULDUAR is. ULDUAR has good loot all the way through, and that's fun. And so I think that's pretty good game design. So yeah, we'll see. All right, that's Algalon. Next we'll do Thorim. Thorim is the Big Bang is made to be mitigated and soaked by AD's version unit. Frost Tomb is not made to basically damage. Yeah.
Phase.
Okay, so Thorim is probably one of the easier hard modes. I think it's just all about positioning and knowing where to run when you need to go there, which I know is stupid to say, but as soon as you can decide, okay, this is happening to me, I know where I need to run, versus like I just need to get out, and then you're gonna get out but you're gonna go to the wrong spot and then shit's gonna go down. So have a plan for where you're gonna go when you start taking damage from various things, whether it be blizzard or, you know, the lightning balls or whatever. Thorim's hard mode is exactly Wiggum. Have a plan. You got to know.
Phase 1, after the initial arena clear, operates almost identically to Phase 1 in a normal mode kill.
Another thing is you're going to want to use the mind control to juice your DPS on this fight. A lot of people are being like, oh, I wonder if the mind control in this fight will be a thing. It absolutely will be a thing because it's an achievement. It will absolutely be a thing. The question is, how many mind controls are you going to bother with? I wouldn't worry too much about it. Stacking them up doesn't seem to be huge value to me. I'm also not necessarily interested in, like, it was like that discussion about Malagos, right? Like we were like, oh, we should get 3 stacks of the orbs because we should like banish them, and it's just like, just send it, just kill one, grip the other, get 2 and go, right? And it don't worry about 3, don't worry about 4, just get them and go. I think it's going to be similar to that, where it's like, I want to get these dead as fast as we can, and yeah, Lore is a legend. His UI needs some work, but he's a legend. A lot of these guys ended up working for Blizzard, right, Chris? Tankspot is great. Ciderhelm is great. Lore, Eliana. There's a guy named what was his name? The guy who does the other stuff. He's hilarious. But as much as I meme on their UIs, this is like top of the line at the time. So not it seems overkill now, but like this guy was one of the best players in the world at the time.
With only a couple extra things to keep track of. First, you need to be able to clear the hallway in under 2 minutes in order to pull Thorim before Sif leaves and actually activate the hard mode.
Okay, so what he's saying is there's a big arena, and this is like a balcony where Thorim's like chucking his hammer and doing lightning bolts and shit as you're fighting ads, right? And another group is in this gauntlet running up a hallway as like a elemental does a thing. We talked about it in the last video. The goal is to get to Thorim under 2 minutes, push him into the arena while Sif is still here. After 2 minutes, Sif, his friend or lover or whatever, I don't know the lore of it, will leave, and you want to activate him before she leaves so that you fight both of them at the same time. She does blizzards and frost novas and frostbolt volleys and shit, and that adds a whole complicating layer to the fight because a lot of it's about positioning, and if you're slowed, you can't get in position as fast. But yeah.
For this reason, you may want to be a little more careful with how you separate your raid into the hallway and arena groups. Remember that hunters and melee DPS will do best in the arena where they are unaffected by the cast speed debuff, while casters will do best in the hallway. The other thing to consider is the use of mind control. The Darkrune Warbringers have an ability called Aura of Celerity that will increase the attack and casting speed of your entire raid by 20%. This can stack up to 3 times and has a significant impact on your raid DPS, especially in Phase 2. However, it can be a little tricky to coordinate.
It's worth doing, though.
You want to use a Shadow Priest wearing a full Frost Resist
Nipism, thanks for the follow.
6% spell hit to avoid resist.
So he's talking about frost resistant stuff. I don't know. Well, it remains to be seen whether or not resist gear is worth it. I find it kind of hard to believe that it's gonna be. But I mean, if your Shadow Priest is literally doing nothing but mind controlling the whole time, it doesn't hurt for him to just wear a bunch of frost resist, because then he'll take less damage and he's not actually using his stats other than his stam, right? So it's like all you're doing is reducing the amount of healing that you need and increasing the amount of healing able to be done elsewhere. So is your saffron gear? Yeah. We were considering telling people, hey, you should get frost resist. It wasn't worth it on buffed illegal servers, or Thorim was harder than pre-nerf, so doubt here. Yeah, take note. That's probably what will end up happening. But who knows, man? Who knows? Metas are weird. We'll see. If I were you and you had some extra gold laying around, and you were gonna hit the PTR this weekend or next weekend, maybe you should hook up your Shadow Priest with some frost resist gear, because what can it do? I mean, you don't even have to equip it, right? It's BOE, it's craftable, right? So you can just make a bunch of it and then sit on his character, copies it over, and he's got it all in his bags, and then he can throw it on, right? Yeah, take notes, same. All right.
The mind controlling priest should be stationed in the arena initially and should stand just outside the group toward the middle of the room. As I said before, you can use up to 3 mind controls. More mind controls will stack up more of a haste buff, but add a lot.
You can fucking bet that Bipolar's already like, all right, we're gonna mind control someone 9 times and they're gonna do a jillion damage. Oh. What a nightmare.
Thorim
Yeah.
once he jumps into
All
the
right.
arena.
So there's Thorim. This is Sif up here. The fight really starts in earnest as soon as Thorim lands. Phase 1 is pretty easy. I like this fight because it's asynchronous, which is a lot of fun. A lot of people don't like asynchronous fights because it kind of fucks with parsing and stuff. It's like the people who are doing one thing have a shitty parse compared to the people doing the other thing. Whatever. I don't really care about all that. I think it's a fun mechanic. The group splitting in two is fun. And
as there will most likely still be some tank.
there's a hose outside. Olive does not like hoses. She's real mad. Big boy John Hardon, thanks for the follow. Olive's mad. This is Olive. You guys don't know Olive. She's real mad.
She's real mad.
Bark, bark, bark. Yeah.
If we're real mad, dogs go.
Hard mode engaged. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Morgan. Back to Thorim.
Arena. DPS should clear these out quickly and start focusing on Thorim as soon as possible. At this time, the mind-controlling priest should release his Warbringer.
So you'll notice he does a chain lightning that fucks people up, and it will chain indefinitely as far as I'm aware. It's like the holy chain thing on Zeliek, where it like doubles everything. So you want to spread your raid out very specifically, so that your whole raid doesn't just get popped and nuked from orbit by his chain lightning. So you'll notice they've got people spread out in specific spots so as to chain once or twice, but not 10 times. Yeah, that way, exactly. Okay, so you're going to want to figure out where people are standing ahead of time and have them go there. And then this is what I was referring to earlier. There will be times where, like right here, this orb will activate and start throwing lightning everywhere, and he's going to do his thing. This person needs to run, but he can't run towards other people because you might get chain lightning. So he has to run in a specific area away from other people so as not to accidentally chain stuff. And there's blizzards going out, and there's frost novas which might root you in place during damage and stuff like that. So you have to be pretty careful. This is a very important positioning fight. I think once you've got the positioning down, he's just going to fall over. But learning that positioning and getting it right is going to take some time.
Move underneath Thorim's balcony and pick it back up again. With this positioning, the mind control priest won't have to worry about dodging lightning charges.
Here's this.
The raid's positioning is very important as well. Just like in normal mode, Thorim's chain lightning can be devastating if too many people are bunched up.
There's the chain lightning.
We found it easiest to assign each healer a position around the room, assign melee DPS into 2 groups standing at each of Thorim's feet, and have ranged DPS find gaps to stand in.
There's the Frost Nova Volley, or Frostbolt Volley.
Normal abilities, Sif will be doing a heavy amount of damage to the raid through a few frost-based abilities of her own. The most immediately apparent is her Blizzard, which is always active and rotates slowly around
Blizzard.
the room.
Blizzard is kind of like the Blizzard on Shade of Iran. You just need to make sure that you're not getting hit by it. It's not the most dangerous though, so if you have to run into it, you'll be fine. Yeah.
Clockwise motion. Ranged will need to dodge this as much as possible, although avoiding lightning charge is still top priority. The second most important of Sif's abilities is an AoE Frost Nova that will root raid members in place. This should
Yes. I'm having a bit of a panic attack about how many boss guys I'm gonna have to do. It'll be fine. All right.
should be dispelled immediately, as it can easily cause someone to get caught in a blizzard or lightning charge. Sif also has an AoE Frostbolt Volley and a single target Frostbolt that she'll use fairly frequently. For this reason, we found it helpful to have the entire—
So look at the raid. Frostbolt. This is classic WoW speedrunning. Exactly, Jazz. Frost Nova.
A single target Frostbolt that she'll use
And then
fairly
Frostbolt
frequently.
Volley. Here's the buff right here. I don't know if you can see exactly what it's at. It kind of looks like 6 already.
Stacks. Tanks should use armor potions and start rotating cooldowns and trinkets. External
I think you should have armor potions rolling all the time. It's a 2-minute potion. Now on a 2-minute cooldown, so what's the point of not having it on all the time?
cooldowns such as pain suppression or divine sacrifice. Thorim's hard mode requires very solid healing, DPS, and tanking to complete. It's a very hectic encounter that will stretch.
He said nothing. In order to play the game, you need to play the game.
Your raid through both execution and
Get the kill in the video. All right, that's Thorim. Thorim will be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to him. He might be the one you do first out of Kolagarn or Araya. TBD on the order that you're gonna plan to do, but he probably seems like one of the easier ones. Overall. Okay, so that's Thorim. Right now we have Hodir, Mim, Freya, Vezax, and Yogg left. Let's do Hodir. Hodir. Hard mode. Okay, so Hodir hard mode is Hodir normal mode, just fast. I do want to say one thing about Hodir that makes me nervous is if you're at 1 minute and 50 seconds into the fight and it's a 2-minute hard mode cutoff and you're at 5% and you go, you call for burn. You're like, okay, we got the time, let's burn. And then at 1%, it ticks into 2 minutes and he destroys the cache and you miss it. Then your Algalon is fucked and any titles that you're pushing for are fucked. So you need to be very careful week 1 about doing Hodir because yeah, I was dropping maybe, but you just need to know that you're gonna make it. You know what I mean? Hodir in 2 minutes requires a lot of DPS.
Welcome back to the ULDUAR raid guide. My name's Ciderhelm. I'm the administrator.
He has 32.5 million HP, right? We did the math for this the other day. 32,500,000. So he has this amount of HP. You have 120 seconds divided by 120 to kill him for hard mode. So you have to do about 271,000 raid DPS. Divide that by 25 is about 11,000 DPS per person, including healers and tanks. Now, each of these Frost Tomb dudes gives you major DPS buffs. But that's still going to be pretty steep. Week 1. Cherry, I don't know the answer to that. I'm just giving you a sense of where your raid damage is going to have to be week 1 in order to get Hodir hard mode. Yeah, Jazz, maybe. So you got to think about it. This might be one of the harder hard modes to do week 1. There is a lot of optimization on this fight that's possible. Got a more ballers fight, more morbs. I mean, what class does the most damage in 2 minutes and gets the most value from these specific buffs, right? I'm not sure that Unholy DK does get the most, because these buffs are really, really good for specific classes. Like the crit damage could be really good for fire or stuff like that. You know what I mean? I don't know the answer to it. I just know that we're thinking about it. Attack speed equals morb. Yeah, but Gashil, you might not be able to get all of your buffs right away to value that snapshot, right? Because it takes a second for the buffs to ramp up. Am I single? No. So I'm not giving you any definitive answers. I just know that this is stuff that we're talking about. So you draw your own conclusions, and then after the weekend is over, we can talk about it again and see where everybody's thinking. But it's definitely going to be a fun fight. It's going to be a hard fight. It might be frustrating because if you're not able to do it, you're going to be like, God damn, you fucking DPS, do more damage. And they're just not going to be able to do it because they're not able to. And that's going to be frustrating. You might drop healers. Stuff like that. So, yeah, that's my spiel on Hodir.
Administrator of Tankspot.com, and in this video, I'll show you our Hodir hard mode strategy.
Spellhane's Cranks. Yeah,
would like to learn more about
that's a good point.
Click more info on the movie information box on YouTube to head directly to Tankspot. Also, be sure to subscribe by clicking the subscribe button to the right.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I'm aware, there's not a real strategy adjustment on this fight other than just doing it fast as fuck, right? You do everything else the same, right? But you just have to do it really, really well and fast. So that's kind of cool because every week you're going to be doing it the same exact way. Could you 2 heal it? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I don't love being definitive on things because if I'm wrong, someone will clip it and make fun of me forever. But I think dropping healers is very likely going to be a strong way to meet that DPS check.
Right, so you'll be automatically notified as we release more movies. Hodir is the simplest of the ULDUAR hard modes, and while the DPS requirements for this hard mode are relatively high, it is lower than many of the later hard modes will require.
he is only saying that because he's got the 3-minute version. You're gonna see how long they're in almost full Ulduar Abyss, and you're gonna see how long it takes them to actually get the kill, because you can see right here the speed kill thing. They're 22 seconds in already, and this is with gear.
For these reasons, most guilds should consider pursuing Hodir as their first true hard mode. At the beginning of the encounter, our goal is to break the mages, shaman, and moonkin, generally in that order. We split our range to handle one group of these and our melee to handle the other. In our strategy, I pull Hodir near the melee group for a very slight boost of DPS on him while this is occurring.
One thing I kept doing that I learned was dumb to do when I've done this fight, and it never shut up. The bonfires, you can't stand on them because you'll bait a cave in on top of it and it will douse the bonfire. You have to stand next to it so that if you do get a cave in on top of you, it doesn't hit the bonfire and put it out. Don't stack on those fucking fires. Stack near them, but not on top of them. All right? Don't be that guy.
And to allow melee to keep DPS up on him while they move him into position. Hodir can be killed in the center of the room, but we preferred using the back right corner, as this would encourage the NPCs to congregate in that direction and require less movement of our ranged classes. The back right was also closer to where a ranged DPS finished off their own group of NPCs.
Look how Chad he is,
blocks, allowing them
avoiding
to
the cave-ins but not moving the boss.
Before going
it's
further,
amazing.
let me emphasize that the basic principles of Hodir apply. Don't get hit by flash freeze, don't get hit by icicles, and don't get hit by anything that is avoidable. Also,
he's really tanking the shit out of this boss right now.
But you won't need to break them all.
What he's not doing, however, is moving the boss towards a moonbeam to give his melee DPS extra damage. It's a choice. You don't have to, but you might have to week 1 to get the speed kill. They're at a minute 26, right? And Hodir's at 53%. So they've got 34 seconds to kill the boss. No. This is gonna be gnarly.
We marked the mage NPCs and had 2 groups of ranged DPS burn them down quickly after each flash freeze. Once they're out, they'll quickly free all of the remaining NPCs. Beyond this, there are a few more things you must keep in mind through the encounter that were not important to know on your first Hodir kills. First, ranged players should take advantage of toasty fires so long as it does not impede their DPS in any way. Second, ranged players should always be inside Starlight. Third, storm cloud buffs from Shaman are by far the most important buff in this encounter.
That's true,
and your DPS classes need to understand how to make use of this when it comes. Stormcloud is a single target buff that allows the affected player to hit 6 players near them with storm power, which provides a massive critical strike damage bonus for 30 seconds.
Yeah. So there's a storm buff that increases your crit damage done, and it's like it's cast on someone and then they have to run around and get near other people to spread it. That's a really important thing. Waddle K Frost, yes, it's confirmed. 2 minutes for hard mode and pre-nerf. Blizzard said. So, are you ready to rumble?
While active, any personal cooldowns should be used, and players should be able to get temporary damage buffs such as Hysteria from other players that don't have the buff.
Unganda, but you can...
Because only 6 players can be hit by this at a time, we created 2 unique ranged DPS groups that would, as often as possible, stay separate from each other in different starlights. If a healer was hit by Stormcloud, they would run to the closest of these groups to buff them.
There you go, Dabe. Okay, so not everybody.
When to call DPS off is critical to obtaining a kill.
Stormcloud on Draxel.
For us, we determined that a safe spot was about 55 to 60%.
Okay, so they've been fighting this boss for 2 minutes and 50 seconds, and he's at
the minute
3%. One of the best guilds in the world. Well, Adon, this DPS, this isn't working.
Minute-and-a-half marker. While learning the encounter, we would call a wipe if he was not at or below 20% at the 35-second marker. We use only 3 healers for this encounter. It's important that your healers understand they do not need to go past 3 minutes and should time their ability usage accordingly. We always saved heroism for when 50 seconds.
3 healers? That's not unreasonable.
This gave us a small buffer to more effectively determine our DPS output before.
If you are in leadership for your guild, what you should do right now is ping your priests, your druids, and your shamans and tell them, hey, you're going to be expected to DPS in ULDUAR. You better fucking figure it out. Clip it and ship it. I'm serious. Do it. Do you run double Holy Pally? Well, Holy Pallies are the least likely to DPS on this fight because Ret sucks. So that's it. Whether or not that's your optimal, you know what I mean? I don't know. But yeah.
Before deciding whether to wipe it or not. It also worked well with our
all
wild
that
magic
over
and speed
yeah.
potion timers, which we also used in the last second prior to entering combat for a boost on breaking the initial NPCs out.
Nice.
Finally,
Cherry.
we would not break the NPCs out again after any flash freeze that occurred in the last 35 seconds of the timer. Be judicious and safe in calling for wipes and bring players who can put out the numbers and stay alive, and you'll get this hard mode down. Thanks for watching this movie. As always, feel free to ask questions or add suggestions either on YouTube or in the strategy thread on Tankspot.com. Also, Tankspot donors can download all of these movies in high definition directly from our servers.
Ladon, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I bet it does respawn. I bet it does. By the way, I will be doing boss guides for all this stuff. So if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube, do me a favor and do that. It's right there. You'll see the boss guides there. And if you guys want to see the intro that Chase made me for the boss guides, it's fucking dope. Here we go. Ready? I'm so excited to use it. It's gonna be great. All right. All right. Let's do Mimiron. Mimiron hard mode 25 man. I want to make sure it's 25. This one is 25 man.
Welcome to the Tankspot.
All right. It's a little loud.
ULDUAR raid guide. This is T-Tox, and this video will
T-Tox. So, Mimiron firefighter.
go over strategy for firefighter, Mimiron's hard mode. If you would like,
This might be the hardest hard mode in here. There's also a pretty reasonable element of RNG with the way that fires operate. One thing I also noticed is that the audio on this fight might be one of the best sounding fights in the game. There's really fun crunches and creaking of machinery, and just it's fun. So turn your audio up. It's enjoyable. Is there around the DPS maybe high enough to make it trivial? KPT, I would be surprised if it's trivial. Sorry, E-Being. It's still going to be a hard fight. The fire is still relevant throughout most of the fight. So here we go.
more information or would like to learn more about downloading this movie, click more info on the movie information box on YouTube to head directly to Tankspot. Also, be sure to subscribe by clicking the subscribe button to the right so you'll be automatically notified as we release movies. Hard mode is accessed by pressing the red self-destruct button in the back of the room, which
So what they're doing right now is they're baiting the first fires into a corner. So you push the button, the fight starts, fires land, and they're baiting it into a corner, and then they're running out away from the fire so that the fire is away from the center of the room rather than positioning ahead of time and
which will automatically start the encounter. Before we push the button, we group up near the button so we can keep the first fires out of the way. Fires will spawn on a particular member in the raid, but will follow whoever is closest to them. When the first fires spawn, we spread out to begin Phase 1. We drag Mimiron to the outer edge of the room to minimize the effect of Shock Blast. We then drag him clockwise around the room, moving him away from mines and whenever Shock Blast occurs.
so Mimiron by himself is not a trivial encounter. There's a lot of things going on. I just copied KBT trivial. There's mines, there's shock blasts. This will one shot you if you're in range of it when it lands. Super WoW, yes, very likely there will be many of the fights will be 5 healed. Some might be 6 healed, some might be 3 healed, 2 healed. We'll see. That's the great part about dual spec, is that you can flex up and down depending on the needs of the raid. So yeah.
As a result of pushing the button and activating the room self-destruct,
Did you see him just eat those 3 mines? I'm cringing just seeing that. Watch this.
mines and whenever Shock Blast occurs.
Fuck
As a
those
result of
mines.
pushing the button and
Oof.
activating the room self-destruct sequence, Mimiron and his adds gain an emergency mode buff that increases his health and damage by 30%.
Panquakes, yes. This fight will take a long time to master. Freya. Yogg 0. Will take a long time for you to get right.
Everyone must be aware of fires following them and remain spread out, as multiple people getting Napalm Blast could lead to an early death. This includes melee when they spread out for Shock Blast. To prevent Napalm Blast from spreading to the tank, only healers should stand in the path where Mimiron will be dragged, and they must maintain a safe distance from the tank. About halfway through the phase, he will spray a flame suppressant, extinguishing all of the flames in the room and increasing the cast time of spells by 50% for 8 seconds.
So right around the flame suppressant, this is a nice little break of dealing with the fires when the flame suppressant goes out. You really want to start blasting the shit out of the boss and getting in position for the transition to phase 2.
He will only
Now it's just gonna torch them,
During
so
the
they gotta get
transition
away.
between phases, the raid must group up to control the fires.
Okay, so this is the transition, and so generally on Mimiron, the transition is a really nice time for healers to breathe, to top the raid up, to regen some mana. During Firefighter, you really need to get in a place to bait the about to spawn fires in a favorable position so as to not fuck up the positioning for phase 2.
This is done by having the entire raid group up on one side of the room. If you picture the room as having 3 parts to the room, separated by the spawn points of the phase 3 adds, we have the raid group up next to the fire on the third of the room with the most fire at the end of each phase. We try to fill in as
So they really don't utilize the entire room. You can tuck your ass in the different corners of the room as a raid. They kind of, are splashed in one pie of it, which is fine.
much
But
of this third of the room as
there's better
possible
ways
with
to do
fires
this.
before the next phase. We try to work from one side to the other, but we may wind up standing between 2 areas of fire and filling in as much of that third of the room as possible. Running through a little fire is okay, as it deals about 5,000 damage per second, but
the
be
fire
aware
will
of
also
fires
probably
stacked on
do
top of
more
each other.
damage.
When there's about 10
Pre-nerf.
seconds left on the phase 2 timer, we spread out and set up for phase 2.
So I don't, the fire isn't like the Archimon fire. The fire, imagine the fire is a mob that fixates on the closest person to it. So it'll move towards the person that's closest, and if someone, and it'll tick, it'll move, and then and then it'll read who's the closest, and it'll tick and it'll move, and like that. And so you can set someone to be the one that's baiting the fire. So it's like people can be designated as the fire control person, and they can get control of where the fire's going and yoink it towards whatever side of it. Exactly, Falcon. Fire kiters. I'm not explaining well.
Spreading out on the remaining 2/3 of the room. Controlling the fires between each phase is extremely important, as it
Master
gives your
fire
raid more
baiters,
room to
exactly.
maneuver at the start of each phase.
All right. So this is phase 2. In my opinion, the raid looks the room looks like shit, but whatever. Ideally you're able to use all 3 because he's got this cone that he's gonna fire at one side, and the fewer people that he's shooting at any one time, the better. In this scenario, he's gonna be shooting at half the raid or the other half of the raid, so a lot of people are gonna be taking damage at any one time. If the fire is localized in 1/10 to 1/4 of the room, then you can kind of spread out in 3/4 of the room and split the raid up into 3s, which is ideal.
In this phase, Mimiron will regularly
This does a lot of damage.
extinguish fires in melee range, slowing their attack speed, and every minute or so will summon
Okay.
a frost bomb.
So this frost bomb will one-shot you. You need to pay attention to it, and you need to run away once you see where it's at. The melee are gonna be like, I'm zugging the boss, and then, oh, I didn't see the frost bomb on me. And it's like, well, you literally have one fucking job, and it's to not die. So Swiftness Hands will be helpful. Yeah, nostalgic, very
Random
possibly.
area that's covered in fire.
So look, all the melee get
After a
out.
few
This
seconds,
priest
this
decides he's
frost
gonna
bomb
hang
will
out.
explode for 50,000 damage to anyone within 30
I think-
yards, and extinguish
I don't
all
know what
fires
happened.
in
I was a
the
rep
area.
pal. He made me bubbled.
Everyone must be made
The fire went out, so now the fire is going to continue blasting.
aware of its position should the melee need to run out, or the range groups need to adjust.
Here comes a
When the
missile.
fires
You
are
got to dodge
extinguished, the range
those.
groups can spread out and
Okay, so notice the range groups are in 3 groups, and they have it set up. And every time we talk about this, I laugh. They have it set up where there are 3 priests casting Holy Nova as these groups run around the room, avoiding damage from VX001. Now, the efficacy of having 3 priests spamming Holy Nova to keep their raid group alive remains to be seen. I find it hard to believe that that's going to be the meta long term. Short term, maybe. Very possibly. What is this, Ostrava? This is fine. Because we'll kill the boss, don't worry.
make use of the extra area if they need to, especially after a laser barrage.
Okay, so here's Laser Barrage. Laser Barrage is pretty much the Cthulhu I-beam where he just turns and blasts. You just can't get hit by it. There's almost zero reason for you to ever get hit by this. People are going to get hit by it. Yell at them. There it goes. Beep, 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 beep.
The 3 range groups are assigned a Holy Priest, all 3 of which must be appropriately spec'd and
I never played Wildstar, but I watched someone kill this like high-end boss in Wildstar the other day in some old YouTube video, and it looked a little bit like Mimiron, and I was like, oh, cool. Looks like a fun game.
glyphed for Holy Nova. These 3 priests are marked, and they are responsible for positioning and healing their group this phase. The groups must communicate with each other when to adjust their position to minimize gun damage. Holy Nova is key here for keeping the range groups alive on the run. Melee are usually healed by the remaining healers from range. If there are fire...
What the melee can do also on this fight is, let's say Mimiron is focused in one direction, and he's shotgunning that direction. The melee want to move away from that so that the odds of him shotgunning another target in that direction are less. Because it's really difficult to eat 2 of those in a row. So if you can avoid that, your healers will thank you.
Fires in melee range when he starts casting laser barrage. The explosions, but fires won't appear
Probably
from
the phases you're going to end up
explosions,
lusting.
nor will the current fires grow. If not, continue to control the fires for the next phase as shown here.
So now there's a transition. They're baiting the fires. This gets a little bit sketch. They get split up. One group decides to get to, somebody gets cut off. It's like it's a whole thing, but they make it through fine.
In phase 3, blue beams will appear where emergency firebots will spawn.
You're gonna have to listen to your
These
raid
have a
leader who
deafening
makes the
siren ability
calls.
that silences everyone within 15 yards, and they have a water spray that hits anyone in its range for 20,000 damage, knocks them back 200 yards, and puts out any fire in its path. Any of these that are in danger of being near the raid must be killed immediately.
So bomb bots
One play
spawned.
DPS, such as a Death Knight,
Bomb bots will fuck you up, so you need to make sure that they don't die in the raid. So notice he AMS'd and survived it, but it'll fuck you up.
is responsible for taunting the bomb bots away from the raid and blowing them up. Even without a cooldown, they should not one-shot a plate DPS, as they hit for about 20k fire damage. Junk bots are picked up by the assault bot tank whenever possible.
So he's got taunt
During this,
and
all
grip. He can just
DPS
grip
is
it right
focused on
out.
killing the first 2 assault bots that spawn, and assigning someone to loot both cores.
So some ranged are blasting the head. Melee are killing the bomb bots. And then they're dealing with the cores. The cores are kind of like Vosh, where you get an item in your bags, you use it, and then it will do something. I hope Blizzard is aware of the cores, and they're giving the cores the same treatment that they gave the cores on Vosh, so that they're pick-upable even with Master Loot.
As the second assault bot is about to go down, the ranged tank must move the aerial command unit to a safe spot if necessary.
All right,
When
so they're
fire
moving the
deploys,
aerial
they
command
bring it
unit
down,
away
bots
from
can
the
go to
fire.
buildings.
They drop the
Turns out they spawn a
things.
bomb bot that must be dragged
They
away from the
lust
raid.
here.
If necessary,
I don't
we
think
can
this is the
move
lust
aerial command unit
phase.
to another safe spot, and he's brought back down again. At
I
this
think it's
point, the
either
aerial
phase
command
2
unit
or
should be below
4.
15% health, and now the range stay on the head to finish it off, while the melee clean up the remaining bots.
But I don't
When
know.
the aerial command
I might
unit
be
is
wrong.
about to die, the main tank is to taunt the head, so he gets aggro at the beginning of phase 4. If we have a hunter tank the ad in phase 3, they can then feign death. Or, if we use a warlock, they can soul shatter the
They've got a
drop-down
lot of
threat
bots,
after
but
the
they just
taunt.
decided that they were gonna burn the head in order to clean. And now they're cleaning the bots up. It does get hectic for sure. I mean, the fire looks like shit. So now phase 4 is starting. All 3 pieces are combined into a Voltron-esque situation. They're cleaning up the
During
bots.
transition to phase 4, clean out the remaining bots while controlling the fire. Plan out in advance where you're going to put them initially. In this phase, the only extra ability he retains is frost bombs, and you must pay attention to those at all times.
All right. So this phase is Crazy Town, but it's maybe not so bad. You might lust here, you might not. All 3 of the pieces of his body, the legs, the chest, and the head, all have 3 separate health bars, and they have to die within 15 seconds of each other. So you want to put ranged on the head because the melee is probably out of range. And yeah, Falcon, exactly. And hopefully melee can cleave and whirlwind the whole thing. Interesting smaller glove. Well, I bet the enrage is not
The range
super
groups set back up again and act much like
relevant,
they did in phase
but
2.
maybe I'm wrong.
Or
They also all start with 50% HP. So
Keep DPSing and healing while moving the groups to minimize hand pulse damage and avoiding fires, rockets, shock blasts, frost bombs, proximity mines, and laser barrage.
that's it.
This is another burn phase, and you'll likely run
Let's
into
just-
frost and healing while moving the groups to minimize hand pulse damage and avoiding fires, rockets, shock blasts, frost bombs, proximity mines, and laser barrage. This is another burn phase, and you'll likely run into the enraged
Easy.
timer on your first kill. When it enrages, the room self-destructs,
Not
dealing
bad at
5,000
all.
damage every second, only giving a few more seconds on the boss while survival cooldowns are still up. Overall, Mimiron's hard mode will test your player's ability to perform their best while constantly moving.
It's a fun
There is a
fight for
high
sure.
DPS requirement that's very well tuned, but more importantly, there's a lot to be aware of. Situational and encounter awareness from all of your raiders are key to this encounter.
Oh my god! Wow! Oh my god!
Thanks for watching this movie. As always, feel free to ask questions or add suggestions either on YouTube or in the
Shock
strategy
Blast will
thread on
one-shot
Tankspot.com.
you.
Also,
His
Tankspot allows you to download
chest
all the
cannon
movies
can
and
be
hide
kind of
information directly
fucky,
from
so
our
we'll
servers.
see how
The second
they
thing, the movie
they It's gonna be a fun fight. It's probably gonna be the fight that you enjoy the most long term. All right, Freya. So Freya, 3 elders. She has a bunch of trash in her room. Do I recommend these add-ons? These are old add-ons. Freya has a bunch of trash in her room, and there are 3 tree elementals, whatever the fuck they are, that are up in her room, that when you pull her without killing them, gives her buffs, and the buffs are physical damage done, the adds do physical damage, and then some other thing. Yeah, it's like SAR 3D. So the hard mode is to do them with all of them all up.
My name is Eliana, and in this
It's too
video,
quiet.
I'll go over the strategy that we use for the 25-man version of Knock 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 on Wood. Freya's
Knock,
hard mode
knock,
can be
knock on
accessed
wood.
by leaving all 3 elders alive. If you would like more information or would like to learn more about downloading this movie, click more info on the movie information box on YouTube to head directly to
Okay, so
Tankspot.
notice
Also-
right in the beginning, they pull and she's like
So we should
shooting
inform-
vines. This is where one of the trees is. There's another one that's happening over there. So that's kind of like the sign that she's pulling the power from those alive trees to juice her.
In the movie information box on
There's the essences: Brightleaf's essence, Stonebark's essence, blah blah blah. And they have a buff or whatever.
YouTube to head directly to Tankspot. Also, be sure to subscribe by clicking the subscribe button to the right. You will be automatically notified as we release movies that way. Unlike the Sartharian 3-Drake fight, any elder you leave up in the Freya encounter will not join the fight directly,
So listen,
but each of them gives Freya substantial buffs and new abilities. Elder Ironbranch will give Freya the ability Iron Roots. This is cast on 3 random raid members at a time and will root them in place, as well as deal around 9,000 damage every 2 seconds to the target. Currently, Iron Roots can be dispelled by most snare-breaking abilities, such as the Paladin's Hand of Freedom and Druid Shapeshift.
so real quick, just to talk about Freya. She has 3 different sets of ads that spawn one at a time for a total of 6 waves. So each set of ads you'll see twice. One of them is this group, the Detonating Lashers. Another one is a large tree elemental, and the third one is a set of 3 plant things. These ones, when they die, explode and do damage. So you need to be very careful about how you manage your cooldowns and how you manage these, because you don't want the whole raid stacked as they all die at the same time or you're going to wipe.
They're also attackable and can be killed by regular DPS should your raid not be able to dispel them. Either way, they need to be disposed of very quickly. Additionally, leaving him up increases physical damage dealt by adds by 50%. Leaving Elder Stonebark up enables Freya to cast Ground Tremor, which is a 2-second cast spell that deals around 13k damage.
So Ground Tremor is a serious amount of extra damage that your raid's going to take. 13k damage, and what it does is if you're casting as it goes out, it will silence you. It's a spell lock. So you need to be very aware of when that's happening and not be casting during it. Certain healers will be better at this than other healers. Certain casters will be better than other casters. Physical DPS don't give a fuck. They're just going to blast. So, yeah, exactly, Vern. If you're only spamming Powered Shield, you're happy.
To every raid member, and interrupts and causes a lockout of 6 seconds for any spell school being cast
Falcon.
at the time. Also, leaving him up increases Freya's physical damage dealt by 75%. Elder Brightleaf lends Freya the ability Solar Flare, which results in 3 sunbeams popping up simultaneously that inflict 14,000 damage every 2 seconds to anyone standing near one.
So there's the solar flares. These aren't really so dangerous, except during one specific wave of ads when you have to run to the mushrooms. So that first wave, the exploding ones are done and dealt with. Now we're getting the 3 other ones, the Snap Lasher, this guy, and the other guy. They need to be handled specifically. This one needs to be kited and run around because it will do a ton of damage. The other ones can kind of be dealt with less focus, but they all need to die around the same time or they will respawn.
Additionally, magic damage.
No, I will not be getting the first Valkyrie. I'm probably buying one.
With all 3 elders up, Freya and all her adds also gain 72% more health. Obviously, that makes the DPS requirement a little more steep, because you will need more time for each ad phase. Let me go over some general hints before I explain the different ad phases. To make this fight work for you, you have to add efficiency and synergy to your raid group. Before the fight starts, assign people to little groups that spread around Freya in a circle. Each camp should have a healer and about 2 ranged DPS. That way, you should never have more than 3 people that need to move from a solar flare.
So they have 6 healers, 2 druids, a holy priest, a disc priest, and a paladin. Job is their disc priest, but at the time, shields and absorbs were not counting as healing on recount, so it's not showing up as well. This is the ad that I was saying you need to be concerned about with the solar flares, because you need to be stacked. You need to be standing underneath these mushrooms in order to cast. And if you're standing under a mushroom, you're a prime target for the solar beams because you don't want to move away from these.
And you also ideally won't have everyone running to the same mushroom.
Pond, I'm not sure.
Speaking of the edge,
I've heard a lot of different prices so far.
That's a huge tree you're seeing in the background. For this phase, spread out under the mushrooms as best as you can. Look for a new one when the shroom you're under gets big before it disappears. You want to minimize movement from mushroom to mushroom. Sometimes spawns are terrible and you can't do much about that, but you want to try and not clump up to avoid people taking massive damage from nature's fury. The person that gets targeted by it needs to move to a safe spot as soon as possible. Under ideal circumstances, that safe spot is a mushroom with no one else under it, but if people are clumped, just move away from them while staying in range of at least 1 healer.
So there's the tremors, there's the solar beams, there's the mushrooms. There's a lot of things happening on this fight at any one time, and there's a lot of damage going out. So it's gonna be gnarly. It's gonna be a really fun, difficult fight. Yeah, Falcon. I bet it's about 10 weeks, but I have no data to back that up other than feels. So we'll see. I mean, you could get it in 3 weeks if you're lucky, right? You can drop off of every boss. You need 30 of them. So you could get 28 in 8 to 10 is with the hard mode. I mean, that's fast. If you're doing all the hard modes and you're getting 8 to 10 a week, then you're getting a Valinir every month. That seems really fast. But I don't know, maybe not.
Communication is key here. If a tank gets targeted,
It's in
obviously people
weeks.
near him or
Okay.
her have
That seems more likely. Okay, Falcon. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I'm excited. You ran 100 million computations? Good lord, dude. Well, how do you know the drop rate? How do you know the drop rate? Just off of what? For sure, Falcon. We'll see, man. We'll see. I'm gonna buy mine. So, all right, let's get back to Freya. Up to now, you guys have pretty much seen the entire fight. Now you're just repeating. So all 3 different ad waves have gone out. You have seen the mushroom phase, which is you're at the end of the mushroom phase right now. You're starting the detonating lasher phase. And then the 3 ads phase happened before the mushroom phase. So now you're on your 4th wave of ads out of 6. Once all 6 are dead, the amount of healing that she does is reduced to 0 or near 0. I don't remember exactly. And you can kill her. And phase 2 of just her is very easy comparatively. So
to move. The safe zone below a mushroom is fairly big, so take advantage.
Look
of
how
it and
messy
don't
this is
stand
right
on
now.
top of someone else unless
they're
you're being
AoEing the
told to.
lashers.
In the lasher phase, the raid needs to clamp up on Freya. Use targeted AoE and bring all lashers down to 20% health or less.
Buttercup, yes, the raids will be on PTR on Thursday.
Into the opposite direction. At this point, they need to
Unless
be
something
working
changes, but
quickly,
they said
and it's advised to have
December
hunters
8th to the
frost
12th.
traps or to use improved
And I will be
systems to
raiding
snipe the
it
remaining
non-stop
lashers before they
all
run off
weekend.
again to
So
make
come
slow
hang out on
kill.
Thursday.
It may be a little difficult at first to figure out, but once you get some practice, it's a fairly safe way to deal with lashers.
Yeah, Falcon, we'll see. Either way, it'll be fun.
Be ready to deal with solar flares that may pop up while everyone is clumped. Your raid has to pay close attention and be ready to move and readjust if one or even multiple flares pop up on them. This is the greatest danger of the lasher phase. I find it easiest to pen up my camera and look straight down onto my character to spot flares, but that comes down to personal preference.
How great is her UI, by the way? She is a legend. This UI could be a modern UI, and I wouldn't be surprised. It looks great. It looks pretty close to mine. The only thing that's different is like, well, these things, but like her health and target bar are beneath her raid frame bar. Mine are swapped, but you know, for the most part, hers are exactly the same.
For the elemental ads, we assign a Death Knight to Chains of Ice kite the Snaplasher over and over and have him ready to taunt it if someone else draws aggro. Our off tank picks up the other 2. Burn them down evenly. Here too, communication is key. If you fail to kill them within 10 seconds of each other, they will resurrect and you're most likely facing a wipe.
Yep. All right, now they've got one more ad wave and then they're done.
The little trees that pop up
The mushroom
occasionally are
one.
called Irina's gift and should always have highest kill priority. If they manage to bloom, they heal Freya and any
Bloom.
ads that are currently on for
Bloom.
a significant chunk of health.
Bloom.
You should save Bloodlust or
Yeah, she is a
Heresy for
gamer.
the second conservator phase. This is most likely where you will have to do some catch up.
KPT, her
There are also some
HP
general
pool
tips
doesn't
you
get
can
buffed. The
use
amount
for
of damage that the
flexibility.
ads and she does gets buffed.
For one, if you're using grit,
Her
you
HP
should
doesn't
also have
matter
grit status rate debuff.
because she's healing a ton, and the healing will be lessened every time an ad wave is killed. And so when all the ads are dead, she's pretty easy. So the ads do more damage, she does more damage, and I think they do more elemental damage or something. Plus there's little random things that happen: the iron roots, the solar flares, and the ground tremor. And that's it. That's a lot of stuff.
This lets you know very easily who's afflicted by nature's fury and iron roots, and hence will need more healers.
Yeah, KPT.
An emergency save if ground tremor is coming up at the same time.
There's a discussion being had about whether or not you could burn her.
Yeah. Scarab Ward.
Kairu.
Oh, I got a good
Man, you bitch.
Thanks for the prime, man. Guys, if you are sitting on a prime and you're not using it, help brother out. Been doing a lot of these. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of work. So thanks. Okay. So the burn strat is interesting because it's one of those things where you have to commit.
Give Jordy Twitch Prime right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Cellquest. You have to commit, and if you fuck up, then you're sitting on way too many ads that you can't kill, and you wipe. So it's going to be one of those things where you very likely won't be able to do it week 1. But maybe down the line, we'll see. We'll see how much damage our raid can do to counteract the amount of healing. Play DN. All right.
Speaking of ground tremor, always watch its cooldown timer closely and make good use of instant spells during its cast. Disc priests are very useful raid healers in this encounter to counteract the damage.
See, look,
spikes.
there's a mushroom with a solar flare, which is spooky.
Once you finish all 6 ad phases, phase 2 starts, and you can
Alright.
finally start killing Freya.
There you go. So the ad phases are dead. She has no more healing that she's doing,
Stay north, rage
so you can burn her now.
Once Freya throws
You'll
out
see
her
little
first
seed
sword,
pods pop.
simultaneously
You gotta
move
run
to
away
left
from
or
them.
right, whichever side they are currently on.
This is pretty easy. If you've gotten here and the raid's all alive, you're done.
Freya will still cast Solar Flare, Ground Tremor, and Iron Roots. Do make sure not to forget to break Iron Root targets out. This is especially important coupled with bombs. The fight is very straightforward at this point, however.
Still gotta
If
get
you
that
haven't had
tree.
many deaths, it should be clean kill from here.
Getting Ladon to kill that tree is gonna
Look at
be
this
a
massive
nightmare.
thing on my ass.
Thanks for watching this movie. As always, feel free to ask questions or add suggestions either on YouTube or in the strategy thread on Tankspot.com. Also, Tankspot donors can download all of these
All right,
movies in
that's
high-definition.
Freya.
Get rid of the goddamn Infernal.
It's not
Get
bad.
the fuck rid of the goddamn fucking Infernal.
All right, we're gonna skip Vezax. Vezax hard mode is just the same as normal mode. It just takes you fucking forever because you're gonna have to wait for these things to spawn. They congeal into a big elemental. You kill the elemental and then you kill him. It's mostly the same. We're gonna do no light Yogg last. Yogg 0 light. This is the last thing that we are going to do in this series. So thank you if you're still with me on this whole thing. Thanks so much for hanging out. It's been a lot of fun.
Nice.
I'll see you on PTR in a few days. All right. Tankspot's Guide to Zero Light Part 1.
Welcome back to the ULDUAR Raid Guide. Call me Splug.
Splug. It's Splug. So Yogg 0 is probably in the top 3 hardest things in here. Maybe the second or possibly even the first. Yogg 0 is one of those things that you're gonna do once or twice, and then you're gonna be like, fuck that, I'm not doing it again. It's too much. I'm just gonna do 1 light every week because the mount is lame. I think the mount's lame. It's really loud and annoying. And you get all the loot with 1 light. So, but week 1, if you're pushing for those Realm First achievements and those titles, Death's Demise, you will be doing Yogg 0. It is a very cool fight. Pass on the Mount Soldi, yeah. I think it's ugly too. I got one of the GMs to give it to me on the beta, and I got Valor and I was flying around, and the amount of sound it was making was like giving me a headache. I was just like, dude, I don't want this anymore. I don't want this mount. I have Alara. I'm done. I don't need another mount. Fuck it. But yeah, okay. So Yogg 0.
In this video, I'll be going through the buttons by clicking.
So Yogg 0, the 0 light, 1 light, 2 light thing, the way that works is each of the 4 keepers that you've freed or killed or whatever, are available to be activated to help you on the fight. They give you certain buffs. They do different things. They stand here and they do different shit during the fight in each corner of the room. You can see here's the close two, and then those are the far two. Yeah, towards more. Well, still, I mean, it's whatever. Zero, you say, hey, I don't need any of your help. I'm just going to kill Yogg by myself. And they're like, all right. Their buffs are super valuable. So not having any of them makes this fight really hard. The main complicating mechanic on this fight for 0 light over 1 light is the ability to kill the adds in phase 3. In phase 3, the guardians that spawn are no longer able to be killed. So they will stack and stack and stack at 1% throughout the fight over and over and over again until Yogg's dead or you're dead. And that sucks because Yogg does a thing called something that they will explode. So a couple of them will explode and heal everything around them. And if that happens, you're very likely not going to kill Yogg because you don't want him to get healed. So you're going to have to pull them out of the raid. As that's about to happen, the explosion goes off, and then they run back into the stack. And then you've got to keep them small, and by keeping them small, they do a ton of damage when they spawn and they're big. And as you do damage to them, their HP goes down. They get smaller and they do less damage. But they will heal and do a ton of damage if you let them. So you don't want that to happen.
On the subscribe button to the right.
So we're gonna go through all the phases, but that's the main complicating factor. And when you're doing Brodowski, thank you.
Actually, we can go. Why don't we just go
with the Prime dude? Thanks, man. It does become a shit show. It's very messy, but it's cool. It's a cool fight, and it's cool in that there's a lot going on. It changes every phase, and it requires everyone to play perfectly because, and I say perfectly with a bit of irony because compared to retail, this fight's a joke, but as most things are these days in vanilla and classic. But you know, we're boomers with old hands, so let's play the game. This is phase 1.
The Yogg hard modes are activated by beginning the encounter without calling down the keepers. Each keeper grants a unique passive.
Anais, yes, the Race to World First will be all hard modes except for Flame Leviathan and XT. You're gonna need to do hard modes for Iron Council, the 4 keepers, Yogg, and Algalon. You won't do Vezak's hard mode probably. Why not XT? So we can go over this because we're on Yogg. So there are 2 titles tied to Ulduar Realm First. These are Realm First titles. There's Death's Demise, which is killing Yogg 0 first, and there's Celestial Defender, which is killing Algalon first. Now, in order to kill Algalon, you need to do the quest to summon him. And the first part of the quest item drops off of Iron Council hard mode. So you do Iron Council hard mode, and then you get a quest, and you do a little thing, and then you have to kill all 4 of the keepers hard mode in order to get the item that they have to drop. Once you have all 4, you turn it into this console, and then you get the key, and you can summon Algalon, and you kill Algalon. Now, to kill Yogg 0, all you have to do is kill everything normal mode and then kill Yogg 0. However, Blizzard, in their wisdom, because this is what we all were begging them to do, and fortunately they saw the light in it, is that in order to get the Death's Demise title, you now have to kill Iron Council hard mode and the 4 Keepers hard mode, which are the 5 fights required in order to summon Algalon. So you don't have to choose whether or not to go for Death's Demise and Algalon. right? And I hear that, but the big thing is like the titles and aligning goals for titles and Warcraft logs is smart, right? So for Flame Leviathan hard mode, you don't have to do it to get a title. You don't have to do XT hard mode because as long as he's dead, you can get to Iron Council. But you do have to do Iron Council and the Four Keepers now in order to get the Death Surmise title. Once you've done that, you can then go do Algalon if you want, right? But previously up till now, you wouldn't have to do the hard mode stuff to get the Death Surmise titles. You just have to kill everything normal, super fast, easy, quick, no risk of wipe, then do Algalon 0 or Yogg 0, right? So yeah, I guess there's still a small choice after the 4 horsemen or the 4 hard mode keeper dies. Do you do Algalon or do you go towards Yogg 0? Yeah, Falcon. And I think we're all really cool with there being a choice, right? I'm totally happy to have that option, right? And have the ability to choose. I value Algalon, I value Yogg. Like, that's fine with me. I'm not so greedy that I want to do both, right? Like, fuck that. I don't want Algalon to be required for Yogg 0. That doesn't make sense. But I like how I don't have to choose to forego killing Algalon and all the hard mode stuff week 1 in order to have a shot at Death Surmise, right? That's nice. The best guilds will probably get both anyways. Well, it depends on the server size. Depends on the server size, but we'll see. All right.
Defensive effect, a flat 10% damage done increase, and a
that's
slight
my spiel on the
changing
thing.
Effect. This means that
yeah, on Benny, you get one or the other. The Realm First Algalon title is Celestial Defender. The Realm First Yogg title is Death Surmise. I'll let you be the judge of which one is cooler. I don't really care.
Both damage and survivability requirements relative to easier settings are incrementally higher. In addition, the margin for personal error is reduced.
If you were trying to go for both, I think you're better off going for Celestial Defender first and then Death Surmise. Because the odds of you doing Vezax and then Yogg and then Algalon are lower. If you're trying to go for, you know what I mean? Versus Algalon, which is just like a 6-minute fight at most. So
reduced by removing the Sanity Wells and Hodir's Ice Block save. Finally, the altered mechanics make for more rigid or complex overarching strategies to be utilized. We've approached Phase 1 by tanking and killing all spawn guardians in the center. This reduces raid movement by allowing the ranged and healers to pick from a wider variety of positions to utilize. It becomes easier to pick areas that will be free of clouds for a longer period. Remember that the clouds move in predictable patterns. Assigning one of your ranged as a meteorologist to forecast raid movement well in advance will be beneficial. Melee positioning is extremely simple. There are 2 clouds orbiting in non-concentric circles at the center. Their paths intersect at 2 points per revolution. Whenever the intersection occurs, the tank should pull the guardian to the point of intersection as soon as the clouds clear, and remain there until the collision occurs again on the opposite side of their orbit.
yeah, Falcon, it's gonna be nuts.
2 tanks to manage Phase 3 anyway. We also chose to alternate tanking guardians in Phase 1. You'll also notice my camera is zoomed extremely far out for this encounter. This helped me personally to locate guardian spawns in Phases 1 and 3, as well as locate tentacles in Phase 2. While I do recommend a deep zoom distance for tanking the encounter...
Do I think it's going to get titles on Benny? I mean, on Benny, there's a ton of strong guilds that are going to be pushing for it. There's us, there's Rain, there's Welcome, there's Overclock now. There's a couple other guilds that are coming up too. So it's gonna be a race. And I think that Phase 1 was, people I don't think took it as seriously. Phase 2, people are really gonna take seriously. ULDUAR is gonna be very competitive. And it's harder, so skill gap will be more evident. So it's gonna be interesting. We're gonna race, man. We're gonna race. It's gonna be fun. Phase 1 was weird with triple raids. Yeah, we got all 3 realm first titles on Benediction. We got we got official realm first KT and Malagos, but we did not get realm first Sartharian. Welcome got that, but we still got the title because we were 14 seconds behind them, and there's a 90-second grace period or something. Your prep will mean a lot more in phase 2. Yeah, beeping noise. Prep is gonna be huge.
We found it was easy.
The guild that doesn't wipe will win. I can almost guarantee you. If you don't wipe, you will win. 75 deaths to Mize. Let's do it, Reggie. Let's do it. we'll hold it at 5% for you.
Easiest to allow melee to remain at point blank range during the explosions.
Yeah, Capiche,
the raid
exactly.
damage incurred is less problematic.
It'll
than
be
the
interesting.
Possibility of letting a last second Shadow Nova cast. Enhancement Shaman are the only class we experience difficulty keeping alive through the detonation. It may behoove them to leave melee range if they do not have.
We fielded 2 raids for phase 1. We had 1 raid go to Sartharian and then Malagos, and we had 1 raid go to Nax. And when Saffron died, we chucked someone out of the raid to go open Malagos for the Sartharian raid while we finished KT, which ensured us to get Malagos in case someone was ahead of us on Nax. It fucked us on Warcraft logs because Warcraft logs needed 1 raid to do all 3, 1 group of 25-ish to do all 3 raids. But you're out here looking for some retroactive Sunwell titles. Yeah, you guys blasted in Sunwell. I couldn't believe how fast you were. I think we were on track with you, but we fucked up. We one shot everything.
Give Jordi Twitch Prime right now. Thank you.
Thanks, goddamn. We one shot everything up to Muru, but we wiped on Muru and then we wiped twice on KJ. But you guys were like really so.
A power word shield. However, melee players do
did not expect that.
Ground zero in the event that they are suffering from either Sarah's fervor
Yogg.
or Sarah's
We're on Yogg.
By focusing
phase 1's pretty easy.
It is possible to have ample time to get clear of melee before
the clouds do little circles and you don't want to get hit by them, and yeah.
It's time to go.
Hey, what's up, man?
The boss's 15-minute berserk timer is a complete non-issue. Other factors will cause your raid to be overwhelmed long before reaching that mark. As such, there is no cause to force spawn additional guardians in this phase. When the final guardian detonates, Sarah will begin the transition to phase 2. It is likely 1 guardian will have just spawned and still needs to be killed.
That sounds like some Copeland
The
on.
first set of tentacles is a special case.
Alright, so phase 2. Yogg spawns. There's tentacles that spawn, and Reggie, I don't think you do. Unless you have a buyer for the title and the mount. Maybe, who knows? Sell it for 100K. So the tentacles spawn, and you need to handle them as they spawn, and then you need to have a group set up designated to be the ones to take the portals that are going to spawn around Yogg to the brain room. So it's a two battle. It's an asynchronous fight like Cthulhu was, where you have to enter the stomach or the brain and do damage to it in order to move on to phase 3.
This is the only time where melee will be available to assist for sustained time. As such, ranged damage should focus fire the Crusher as quickly as possible. If they can position conveniently near a Corruptor tentacle, melee can burn the Corruptor. We use a full-time tank on the Crushers to prevent them from channeling suppression. When the tentacle's stacking anger effect reaches 10 applications, the tank should use a major defensive cooldown such as Shield Wall or Divine Protection. If it exceeds 30, or the damage reduction cooldown is going to expire prior to the tentacle, the tank will need to leave and allow suppression to channel.
The exact things that make you lose sanity? That's a good question. I know that there is a skull thing that pops up that if you're facing it, you'll lose sanity. I think the Corruptor tentacles also cause you to lose sanity. There's more. I'm not aware of them. I don't know the fight super well. But yeah, I'll let you know on Friday, Ladon. Looking at Yogg in phase 3. Players link lose sanity. Okay, so yeah, there's a brain link thing where 2 players get linked, and if they move away from each other too far, they'll lose sanity. But in order to break the tether, one of them has to take the portal into the brain room, and then the tether's broken and you don't have to worry about it.
Before the Crusher dies, a second Corruptor will spawn. Again, if this is in range for melee to reach without getting out of heal range, it is worth the risk.
So he's losing sanity. Where's his sanity? He's got 64, which is down from 100. You get to 0, you go insane, you become mind controlled, and you kill your friends.
Now, Constrictor tentacles remain
Yeah,
the
Reggie.
highest priority for all players and should be addressed as quickly as possible whenever they trigger. With the first portal spawn, the standard cycle of phase 2 begins. Players who are assigned to portals will need to pay attention for the portal spawn and be sure to arrive in position.
So I don't know if you saw that. It happened.
With the first portal spawn, the standard cycle of phase 2 begins. Players who are assigned to portals will need to pay
Portals are open now, right here, and they're open all around his body, and each portal should be assigned to one person. And generally, you don't really avoid your portal. You don't take someone else's portal unless you've got a brain link. So that's your portal. That's your side of the room. That's where you hit your thing. So everyone's got an assigned portal.
Portal spawn and be sure to arrive in position on time. They also need to pay particular attention for malady of the mind and ensure they are not struck by it just as the portals become active, if at all possible. Any player brain linked to the portal crew should accompany the linked player. If portal players with opposite portals are linked to each other, one of them will need to negotiate a trade quickly to keep in range of their brain link. Another common danger is a last-second Constrictor tentacle squeezing a member of the portal team. We address this by having 2 paladins assigned to Hand of Protection duty for each portal spawn on opposite sides of Yogg Saron. If one of the paladins uses their Hand of Protection, they need to inform the next paladin in the rotation to take their position at the next portal spawn. Brain links may force a last-second substitution here as well. While it seems like a simple concept, the portal entry is actually one of the largest sources of random unavoidable wipes in the encounter. Having this system of countermeasures drastically increase the chances of the entire team warping in properly.
It's interesting.
Which reduces the time to stun.
Yeah, that's a lot of RNG that he's talking about. So you want to make sure that you've got your exact group going down into the portal, and the brain links and the Constrictor tentacles can really fuck with your RNG because people that might be important in the brain room aren't able to take their portals. So you need to very quickly call out or have a situation set up in order to address that. And he's talking about Hand of Protection and stuff like that. So it remains to be seen exactly how we're going to do it, but that's the idea.
Portal crew's composition is fairly detailed.
Okay, so in the brain room, they just finished, so they got spit out. And now they're going to do another wave of tentacles while the portals are going to spawn in a second.
Important as well. Due to their limitations in the main encounter room,
Portals in 20. So they're cleaning up the tentacles as best they can.
Using a melee-heavy team also allows us to concentrate melee-based utility in that area easily. Additionally, it is necessary to ensure all forms of debuff removal are present to counter last-second Corruptor harassment. We use a Retribution Paladin, Restoration Druid, and Enhancement Shaman to accomplish this goal.
Prep Pally. There's the portals.
Hot heavy healer to be the most
Okay, so they're about to take the portals now. This guy's going to take the portal. So you can see in the bottom here, this is the brain room, and then there are 3 rooms off of each side of the brain room. And so generally you're going to be doing the brain room 3 times, 3 sets of portals, and each time you will spawn in a different corner of this area, and you'll clear out the room, and then you'll go and do damage to the brain, which is in the center. Now, when you spawn, there's ads all around these rooms. There's these skulls that spawn, and if you look at them, they will zap your sanity. So you want to look away from them as you run around the room, and you want to do damage to these tentacles as you do it. So he's looking away.
Finish their tentacle without dying to reflected damage, which caused delays. A hunter is usually
yeah, Orange. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see.
Provide aspect of the pack after triggering the stun.
So he's activating all the ads. Now they're going to kill all the influence tentacles. Once the tentacles are dead, they can start moving into the brain room.
Corruptors per portal cycle, Rushing the Crusher first is not necessary.
Now they're blasting the
Tentacle crews will
brain.
try to remain together as much
Back
as
upstairs, the
possible.
tentacle
Tank healers will need to
are being
follow the active
handled.
tank to wherever
When the influence tentacles are dead and they're on the burn phase for the brain, all the tentacles in the room freeze. So you want to do your best to clean these up while they're not doing anything, because they're just kind of sitting there. So you blast them as best you can.
the Crusher tentacle spawns. Everyone else remains together and circles either left or right to reach the Crusher in a timely fashion. Along the way, the raid will focus fire down whatever tentacle happens to be closest. If more than one tentacle is in the area, dot-heavy classes such as Affliction Warlocks or Shadow Priests,
Which you'll be taking a lot of.
to maximize throughput. Whenever a target drops below 100,000 health, call a damage switch. The last salvo attacks in flight, combined with the lingering dot effects, should be enough to bleed the target out. Having damage continue sustained fire at that point is only wasting time. On the third portal phase, you should be approaching the phase 3 trigger point. If your portal team has been
Which is 30% on the brain is the phase 3 trigger point.
you may need to call damage off of the brain for part of this time. If the portal team is ahead of pace, it may even be reasonable to send some melee out.
Okay, so this is the last portal phase.
Early. Do not trigger the phase 3 spawn until right before Induced Madness would finish casting. This provides more time for the tentacle crew to finish clearing out the area out top and move into a finalized position, preferably in Yogg Saron's rear arc to allow shred damage and avoid melee from being parried. Healers will position.
It's a good question, Van Hoek. I don't know.
Away from the tank
We'll see.
and directly away
It's
from
not going to be
Yogg
easy.
Saron. Holy Paladin should enable Righteous Fury at this time. As
It's
the dragon
possible,
spawns
Ghost.
the healer camp will help
Possible.
reduce range damage casualties if
The
guardians
thing is, though, are you going to bring 10 affliction locks to first clear, period? Maybe, maybe not. So, and well, I don't know. We'll see.
spawn in the tank's rear arc. Ideally, no corruptors will remain alive as phase 3 begins. If a corruptor
Yeah,
tentacle
Reggie,
is
but
lingering,
for Warcraft
it
logs,
may
you
be finished
can't.
before
They usually do
being dealt
28
damage.
total.
If a crusher tentacle
So we'll
is
see.
lingering with more than a sliver of health, the delay caused is very likely to cause a wipe. No tank will be available to prevent the suppression debuff for long.
All right. So they broke they hit the 30% mark on the brain, which starts phase 3, which is the real new difficult situation for doing the zero light. So we're going to go to part 2, which is right here. It's only 4 minutes long, and then we're done. Here comes phase 3.
The tanks will want to situate themselves as shown here, back against Yogg Saron and fairly close to him but with a small buffer. This will allow splash damage between the Guardians and Yogg Saron to overlap slightly.
So here comes the ads. And now these are the ones that I was talking about earlier that cannot be killed.
Allowing the small buffer both gives damage.
That is the sanity zap thing. There's a skull over his head. He's quote unquote laughing. And if you're facing it as it's ticking, you will lose sanity. So classes that are able to cast and do damage with their backs to the target are really good here, like Affliction Warlocks, like Shadow Priests, like healers, stuff like that. We'll see.
Damage players a location where they can face the Guardians without needing to worry about lunatic gaze, and gives the tank a small.
We got an
buffer to
Emerald
easily
Lagasse fan in the
position
raid.
Backing up if a spawn is stuck to their back for any reason later in the encounter. Tanks alternate picking up
Garg
spawns
D&D
to
Ghoul.
split the
Well, Rax.
ever-increasing damage load more evenly, as well as to allow a larger
We'll
window
see.
for direct threat generation.
Garg might not be good on this fight because you're not able to line up your cooldowns super well. Versus Frost, which is just spamming Howling Blast and doing a ton of
First beacons
damage.
will be placed on the spawned adds. The lower health targets will always be
It'll probably be
selected,
good,
meaning
but
the first 3 Guardians spawned will become marked. We used a custom mod to put marks on the adds with the
yeah,
changed
Omni, I think mages are going to be
Mark
pretty good.
Immortal Guardian on mouse over. These marks would indicate which player would be responsible for pulling each specific Guardian
Frost will
in a
rise.
separate direction. One left, one right,
I don't
and
know,
one
we'll
directly
see.
away from Yogg.
So-
While 3 hunters would be ideal for the task, we do not have access to a third. Instead, we used a damage warrior wearing a shield. While the hunters are able to drop their adds
Warrior stonks. Damage warrior wearing a shield. My warrior has a shield. It's Elementium Reinforced Bulwark from Chromagus. I am not kidding. That is the shield I have.
via feign death or have them drop automatically when distraction shot expires, the warrior's taunt inherits threat from the previous tank. We used our paladin tank's righteous defense to taunt
So
the stray guardian
there's the lunatic
back
gaze
into the
cooldown.
pile without
Ads are
having to sift
spawning.
through the pile for the specific
Lunatic gaze is
item.
going out. Can't be looking at the
Once
boss.
the guardians are returned to the pile, pre-assigned portion of the Yogg damage turns and burns them back down to size. Combined with the ongoing
So notice-
fan of knives damage, this is sufficient to keep the spawns at low health throughout the duration of the empower, without risking
They're
threat
pulling
damage
these
from
out.
pure area effect damage.
The
While this tanking
explosion
splash
effect
can be
goes
damaged
out.
with a large
Then
number
they
of
run back
targets,
into the raid.
Recall that at any given time, most of those targets are at 0% health, and that the overkill damage does not contribute to the encounter in any useful way. As there will be multiple mid-health guardians in the pile, tanks will want to rotate at least one survival cooldown each empower. In the event that one marked immortal is not pulled from the group, the team assigned to keep the regenerating immortals in check will have to resort to mass AE. Threat suppression abilities such as Mirror Image or Fade are strongly recommended. Mages may wish to consider blinking to near the healer camp.
Okay, so here comes he's gonna pull out one of the marked ones. It's gonna heal.
If two or all
Watch.
three of the marked immortals remain in the stack, raid survival is very unlikely.
There it
After
goes.
the first weekend, it will become nigh impossible.
The explosion goes out. It gets healed, and then it
The
runs
empower
back
will
in.
occur every 40 seconds after the first one. While there will only be
The
3
empower.
empowered guardians each time,
Shadow
the cloud of
beacon.
low health immortals will rapidly grow.
Look at this. Look at this
causes
mess.
several problems, ranging from a steady increase in damage to the tanks to a slowly increasing system burn. Players on weaker systems,
System
or even
burn.
mid-range systems, will begin to notice their frame rates steadily decline as the encounter progresses. The increasing number of health bars can also potentially make clicking the correct mark more difficult for the beacon handling team.
Whew.
Finally, as fight time increases, the relative probability of a minor error spiraling out of control
He's got his circle.
increases. Thus, while the encounter can
The
theoretically
thing goes
sustain
out.
as
It
long
runs
as
back
necessary,
in.
it is best
It gets
to
a
aim for
heal off.
finishing Yogg Saron in 4 beacons if possible, 5 if absolutely necessary. The boss's 15-minute berserk timer is a complete non-issue. Other factors will cause your raid to be overwhelmed long before reaching that mark.
Here's the frost decay. Back to spite.
Thanks for watching this movie. As per usual, feel
My
free to
one.
ask questions or add suggestions either on YouTube or in the strategy thread on Tankspot.com. Also, Tankspot donors can download all of these movies in high definition.
This boss died 5 minutes ago to 17 two-toed death knights. That's probably possible. Alright, well, clearly there's a lot going on. Yes, Ed Wilbur. Shadow priests have dispersion, not regular priests. Not healing priests. It's a 41 point priest talent. Or 51 point, whatever the last one is. There it goes. And you got your title. Okay, that is the end of the ULDUAR boss guide review series that I've been doing. Thank you guys so much for being here. It's been a lot of fun. The ULDUAR PTR will launch on the 8th in 5 days. Today is Saturday. It's going to be on a Thursday. I will be doing ULDUAR all weekend long, so come hang out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks everybody for being here. Crumpsy, thanks man. And I hope you guys enjoyed. You can't copy your characters permanently or currently, but hopefully soon. I'm really excited for ULDUAR. We've been working a lot on our strategies and our plan. I also have a loot prio sheet coming for phase 2. Let me pull it up for you guys so you can see it. That'll be coming soon. Yeah, let me find it. It is in. Here you go. This is happening. The loot prio sheet, yes, will also be on the YouTube. I will post a video of us just having kind of a roundtable conversation talking about it. Pancakes is probably going to be the 8th. That's what they said. I would be surprised if anything changes. So, you know, we're getting BIS lists done. Things are happening. It's not done. These are preliminary lists. Things are still in flux, but this is happening soonish. And then I'll also be doing boss guides, and I'll be doing a lot of ULDUAR content. Can't wait for the drama. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Thank you guys again. I've never done Ulduar. I'm really excited about it. I'm learning it just as much as you guys are learning it, and I've never done it. So you can watch me make a ton of mistakes on Thursday. I'm sure I'm gonna get flamed, but that's okay because it's gonna be a lot of fun, and you know, you guys are here to learn with me. So thanks so much. Yeah, exactly, Pommel.